Here are 10 ways not to start your book. Hey guys, I'm Marilyn and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about the 10 worst ways to start a book. But before we dive into that, remember to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell if you want writing advice videos every Wednesday and book reviews on some Fridays. I went into this year thinking I'm going to do a book review video every second Friday, but I severely overestimated the time I'd have to read, and so now it's just some Fridays. So it'll be a surprise to both of us when the next book review comes out. And then also remember that my debut fantasy adventure novel To Wear a Crown is available at all online retailers, link in the description box below. So now without further ado, let's get into the 10 worst ways to start a book. Number 1, an irrelevant point of view. It's extremely frustrating as a reader to read an opening scene in which there is a character and events happening and you get involved in the story. You start rooting for the character, you start relating to them, only for that character never to show up again or to be an unimportant character later in the book. Readers will feel betrayed. Why did we read this? Why did we need to know this? Why did we get emotionally invested in this character? Why did we care? One of the most important functions of your opening scene or chapter is to introduce your main character and to get the reader to root for them or at least find them intriguing. So don't waste that crucial moment that you have to get the reader rooting for the main character on an unimportant point of view. Number 2 is too many characters. So starting to read a new book is usually a bit confusing. You need to get used to a new world, new characters, a new way of writing. Don't add to that confusion by having like 24 characters in your opening scene. Readers won't remember their names or their descriptions or why they're important, and they'll probably just feel like overwhelmed and confused. Additionally, readers will also struggle to root for the main character and to really identify with them if there are too many other characters crowding the scene. The third way not to start your book is telling. My name is Lisa. I'm a short, feisty brunette who likes horse riding. I have 2 best friends called Anna and Dylan, and we carpool to college every day. I have a crush on Josh, one of my tutors, but he's 27 and not interested in me. Telling is boring. It has its place, but the start of your book, the very important opening scene, is not the place for it. The above paragraph could have been an interesting scene showing your reader all of the information via action and dialogue. Unless you're using subversion to surprise the reader, like, my name is Lisa and I'm a class 3 demon, you shouldn't tell in your first scene. Immerse the reader in the story through action, dialogue, and using the senses. Show us who the main character is rather than just telling us. Number 4 is description. Please don't start your book by giving us a 2-page long description of the setting. In fact, I would recommend not starting with description at all. So yes, a few lines of description later on in the first scene is fine, but the reader needs to care first. No matter how beautiful your writing is, readers won't be sucked in by a 5-paragraph description of a field. Number 5, world building info dump. You guys knew it was coming. Don't start your book with an explanation of your world's climate, politics, history, landscape, whatever. Once again, the reader needs to care first. There needs to be action and conflict and a compelling plot. The world exists as a backdrop for the story and the characters. It's not the protagonist, and it shouldn't be taking up the start of your book. Number 6 is the infamous dream sequence. So the biggest reason that you shouldn't start your book this way is that it's just been done too many times. But that's not the only reason. It also feels like a betrayal to the reader because they got invested into the story, into the character, into what was happening, and then you tell them it was never real. And oftentimes, the storyline in the world in the dream is actually more interesting than the actual main story, which just makes the latter look boring in comparison, and you do not want that. Number 7, looking in a mirror. Once again, it's just been done too many times. A character looking in a mirror and describing their physical appearance to the reader. Firstly, no one describes in detail their physical appearance when they look in the mirror. Secondly, the reader doesn't even know who this person is. We don't know if we're interested in this character yet. We don't know why we should care. So we don't want a detailed description of physical appearance right off the bat. Show us interesting aspects of the main character's life, hobbies, personality, and weave in physical description as it becomes relevant. It's not important enough for the very first paragraph. Number 8 is starting way too early. Now, most books don't start with the inciting incident, although I would actually recommend that they do. You still shouldn't wait too long to get to that inciting incident. So don't start with a long scene describing your character's everyday life where nothing exciting really happens. The readers are waiting for the thing to happen, the hook that got them to pick up the book. Providing context and introducing the main character, that's fine, but don't leave the reader hanging for too long before you get to the good stuff. Number 9 is trying too hard. Your first line has to be amazing. It has to hook the reader immediately. It needs to be something no one has seen before. It needs to be shocking. I bet you've heard this writing advice about 100 times. It's not bad advice, but it does sometimes lead to an opening line or even opening paragraph that is completely disjointed from the rest of the story. It's confusing, it's in a different voice, it's conflated, it doesn't have anything really to do with the story. Your first scene should introduce your character, your story, your voice. So don't write a single line of profound purple prose that has very little to do with your actual story. Focus on writing a good story. Introduce the reader to the book, make the main character intriguing. You don't need a mind-blowing first line. And then finally, don't start your book with the lesson. So most books, or at least some books, have kind of a theme or a topic, something that the writer wants to say or address with their writing, and oftentimes this comes in the form of a lesson, which is good, but the lesson should be subtly woven in through the story. It shouldn't be forced down the reader's throat in the very first line or scene. Don't tell me what I'm going to learn. Show me the lesson through the story as it develops. This also kind of links to the previous point of not trying to be too profound in that opening. Those are my 10 ways not to start a book. I hope that this video was useful. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Remember to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell so you don't miss any videos. Also, if you want to read a nice fantasy adventure book that doesn't have any of these openings, check out my debut, To Wear a Crown, link in the description box below. As always, you can find me on my website, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, and BookBub. You can also sign up for my newsletter. Newsletter will be coming out on Monday? Yeah, in the next week, soon. All the links in the description box below. And then I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!